Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for.
Transparently, I think might be the best game of the Sweet 16, a 7:09 Eastern Time tip in Newark, New Jersey. Yeah, we are talking about the BYU Cougars. You know, Torres is Cougar crazy. We've talked about it plenty. Against the Alabama Crimson Tide, a matchup of the 2 seed in the East versus the 6 seed in the East. Of course, BYU coming off that wild upset, if you want to call it that, over 3 seed Wisconsin. I believe BYU was a 1-point underdog, so by technicality, it was maybe a little bit of an upset, but not by much. BetUSTV.com betting odds are BYU Alabama a 5.5-point favorite in this game. Coming in, just a couple quick thoughts about the opening weekend. You know, Alabama, you could probably say they were the only team that really was kind of more tested in the opening game of the NCAA tournament than the second round. They play Robert Morris, some call him Bobby Moe, and it was just kind of a game where you just kind of felt like they were kind of going through the motions. Are they really in it? They're coming off that SEC tournament loss to Florida. Grant Nelson's a little bit banged up, but he's playing. How locked in? All of a sudden you look up, I was doing Fox Sports Radio. They're down 65-64 with like 7 minutes to go. They hold on to win. I know everyone, the refs stole, and the refs didn't steal the game. Alabama was the better team. They end up winning. And then I'll say this, just a wire-to-wire domination Sunday evening in Cleveland. Not to give too much away, but we are doing the Aaron Torres Pod Survivor Pool. And I had Alabama, and it's because I didn't see the scenario where Alabama was not going to be able to win that game. Alabama gets the victory, and it's really, I think, a metaphor for Alabama's season, okay? I think we think so much about Nate Oates and the offense and the space. You know, Nate Oates was really one of the first ones to kind of bring this modernized NBA offense to college basketball. A lot of three-pointers, this and that. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that this specific Alabama team, probably not as good of a three-point shooting team as you realize, but probably a little bit of a better kind of in the paint kind of team. Alabama shooting 35% from 3. That's certainly good. Those numbers, I think, are up a little bit since Chris Youngblood got healthy. But, you know, where Alabama really makes its hay is actually, in my opinion, down in the paint. Grant Nelson, 12.7 boards per game. Cliff Omoyori doing exactly what you wanted, 8.7 boards, about a block and a half per game. I think Mo Diabate has quietly been a very impactful player for Alabama. And so I think we focus so much on Mark Sears, so much on the guards, so much on the three-point shooting. I don't think people realize Alabama is a much better scoring team in the paint than a lot of people realize. And that's kind of what their MO has been for most of this season. BYU, you don't need me to tell, well, you do need me to tell you because I've been telling you for about 5 weeks now who BYU is, what they're about. It's so cool to follow this story. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out to me privately and say, Torres, thank you for your coverage of BYU. It's been my privilege, to be honest, and it's been a cool story to watch evolve from last spring. Everyone's trying to figure out, okay, this Kevin Young guy, who is he? You know, I was kind of tipped off early. Oh, they might be a little bit of a problem in the Big 12, and a problem being a good thing. They get the Yegor Deming commitment. A couple of the guys, Richie Saunders, decide to come back. But it wasn't really until early to mid-February where this team figured things out, and they have been on a roll ever since then. 9 wins going into the Houston game in the Big 12 semifinals. They lose there. They win 2 more. Not great at math. It means 11 of the last 12 they have won coming into this game, and they're playing about as well as anybody, all things considered. Thing with BYU, you know, again, we focus so much on the Alabama offense. The BYU offense is just humming at the highest levels. 91 points against Wisconsin. In the Big 12 tournament, 96 points against Iowa State. That was after scoring 88 points against Iowa State earlier in the season. They had that 96-point performance at Arizona. Yes, Arizona fans, I know there was a questionable call. We'll get to that in a minute when we talk Arizona. But this team is operating at such a high level. The Wisconsin game, I'll be real, was just weird, okay? Because I was watching the Wisconsin game. I was at Fox Sports Radio prepping for my Saturday night show, and you kind of just have it on in the background. I think BYU was up, like 13 with 9 minutes to go. talking to a buddy of mine who's a BYU support. I've turned him into a BYU guy. He texts me about Yegor Demon about 4 times a day. We all like Yegor, but calm down, Brandon Deutsch. I know you're watching here, buddy. But I bring it up because we're sitting there watching the game, and all of a sudden, like, it's, what is it? BYU's up by 2, and Wisconsin has the ball with a chance to win. But BYU gets the stop. Mawit Mag, who we talked about on Sunday's show, gets the stop. Wisconsin loses. BYU survives, setting up what I think should just be, one of the more fun games of the weekend in college basketball. And so let's get to it. Like I said, BYU about a 5.5, 6-point underdog. Alabama favored. I'll be real. I'm going to get to my pick here in a second. And that pick, I'm just going to say it. I had Alabama in the bracket coming in. I like BYU to pull off the outright upset, beating the Alabama Crimson Tide to open the opening round, the opening game of the round of 16, the Sweet 16. Okay. A couple things stand out. One from the Alabama perspective, I'll just say it, and I think Alabama fans feel the same way. I go on with my buddy Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa every week, and I told Alabama fans, I said, I got you in the Final Four in my bracket, and they said, you trust our team more than we do. And when you look at Alabama, I think the thing that stands out, it's middle of March, it's late March, it's the Sweet 16, and I still don't know who this team is. Some nights they're great defensively, some nights they're great offensively, sometimes they're great in the paint, sometimes they shoot the ball well. Every game, it's like a choose your own adventure. But where my concern comes in is that you look at their losses, they all have one thing pretty much in common. They give up a lot of points in those losses. 104 in the SEC tournament to Florida, 99 to Florida the last week of the regular season, 110 at Missouri, 94 at Auburn, against Auburn at home in a loss. They did have that close game with Tennessee, but I think that's more Tennessee's offense maybe than it is Alabama's defense. And so the defense has been inconsistent. Now you are playing a BYU team that not only is putting the ball in the basket, but I think as importantly, BYU's getting stuff from different guys every single night, right? BYU has the opening win over VCU. Richie Saunders, their all Big 12 first team guy, quote unquote, only has 16 points, then goes for 25 against Wisconsin. Yegor Demon, we talked about a minute ago, the freshman, lottery pick type talent. 11 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds against Wisconsin. Trevin Nell played really well the other day. And I just think you're a team that's getting production from all over the court. You know what you're getting. Defensively, Mawit Mag's kind of that defensive stopper. I'll be curious. I think the thought is he'll go on Mark Sears, and that's another variable too. This might be the best defensive guard that Mark Sears has seen all year long. And so when I look at that matchup, I think Mark Sears somewhat gets held in check. But I also think that just BYU has so many different guys that can beat you. And again, Alabama, it's just every game is a choose your own adventure. Only thing I will say, I do worry a little bit in the paint. I do think BYU, Keba Keita, the Incredible Hulk, as producer Matt calls him, is a very special talent. He's going to need some help. Richie Saunders, Yegor, it's going to have to be a gang rebounding effort because Alabama is bigger. But again, I just feel like BYU has been playing better. I like BYU to win this game outright. Did I give a score? I will say 91-87 BYU gets the win. As producer Matt says that Keita's got that dog in him. And he said that the score may end up being like Monstars in Space Jam, where it's just, they're going to break the scoreboard is basically what it comes down to. I'm telling you, I think this could be the most entertaining game of the opening of the Sweet 16 round, and it's the first one that we get.